Well, my name is Jason JROCK Houston. Tonight, it's my great pleasure to be speaking with my good friend Steven, the lead singer from Sam Halen, a great Sammy Hagar era tribute band out of Phoenix, Arizona. And how you doing tonight, Steven? Last we did this was about 2 months ago. It's great to be talking to you again.
Yeah, good to talk to you too, man.
And now you were sharing with me not too long ago that your favorite Van Halen album, at least from a Sammy era, is Balance, which interestingly enough is the very last album they did with Sammy. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I was wondering if you could share with us why that's your all-time favorite album from the Sammy years.
You know, their albums, all with Sammy, I mean, they're all a little different, and I like them all.
Yeah.
There's not one that I dislike. Maybe because that album didn't get as much of a fair shake as the others, but also the growth that I hear on it, and some of the songs that they're not even radio hit songs. There's some great songs, especially towards the end of that album. It's just like, this album is so underappreciated. I've turned some people onto it probably in the last 2 years. Actually, guys who both played in Sam Halen, and they were like, "Oh my God, I never knew how great this album was. I heard like a song or two, and I never bought it."
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting? Yeah, I'm sorry. I was saying what's interesting to me about the album itself is, like you're saying, if you compare it to like an album like 5150 or even OU812, you know, both songs there's more of a cohesive sound throughout the album. Whereas like you put on Balance and every sound really sounds different. I mean, they got all kind of different things going. They got songs that are really dark, like "Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do." Then you got a kind of pop ballad like "Not Enough," which I just love. And I was kind of surprised that even though we made a video and released it as a single, that song wasn't a bigger hit. And then of course the hit single off that was "Can't Stop Loving You." That's just one of my all-time favorite tunes. But if you just look at those three tunes I mentioned, they're so drastically different in the sound.
Yeah, it's funny because when I listen to that album, "Not Enough" to me, it's just a really good song. Just for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's the piano or something, but it doesn't come across to me as like a Van Halen-ish type song.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything from the songwriting quality or anything on that song. It's just like, it sticks out to me like a little something different.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I hear it as like take it for, and it's a great song. But I don't know, on that album it just seems to me like a little, I don't know, everything is kind of going this one direction, and they're going in another place here, which it wasn't bad, it was just like, they're at this point with this record that they've kind of carved this niche for themselves, and they kept kind of going.
Yeah.
Because 5150, aside from a ballad or two, it's pretty much a straightforward, upbeat, fun album.
Yeah.
And OU812 expanded the boundaries a little bit more, carnal knowledge, even further down that pike and more in the production, and, it's really kind of widening their scope each step they took with each record. And this record is no exception. It just kind of widened the scope even more. So, all the more disappointing when they had the split between the two camps and Sammy was gone.
Yeah.
It's like, how much more could they have, explored this route that they were going? It was really cool. And, at the time, grunge was huge. And, the regular type of rock stuff, you want to say hair bands or whatever you want to call it, that kind of stuff, the tides were changing musically. And I think, in a sense, they were kind of changing musically as well, because, like you said, "Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do," kind of a different, dark song for them,
Yeah, and it's interesting to me in listening to the album all these years later is the fact that you have all these different sounds going on throughout the album. Dark, poppy stuff. A little bit of everything, something for everybody, and yet it was still a #1 album. And the interesting thing when you listen to it all these years later is you kind of wondering, hindsight being 2020, we now know at the time, the brothers and Sammy weren't really getting along, and so it kind of makes you wonder, were a lot of his songs darker because of what was going attention within the band, or were they trying to sound grunge, or it's just kind of all kind of things you're kind of wondering.
Yeah, I would tend to think less that they were trying to be in that grunge mode because, they're Van Halen. Whether Dave's there, whether Sammy's there, they don't really follow trends. They're one of those bands that they do what they do, and people start copying in them. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see them going, oh, we got to be Nirvana all of a sudden. We got to compete with their audience and this and that. They're Van Halen.
Yeah. And that's,
but I find a lot of things on this album very interesting musically. I mean, the album opener, Seventh Seal.
Yeah.
Love that song to death. It's something that couldn't have been on, 5150 at all. Just would not fit. But yet, what's interesting, I have the Japanese pressing of the Balance album, which has the bonus track, which I don't know if you're familiar with. It's called Crossing Over.
No. Well, actually, yeah, I remember they released it as a B-side also on one of the singles, so I did get a chance to hear that, and I was kind of surprised, that they used that as a bonus track, because I think it would have been a great addition to the U.S. version as well.
Well, from what I understand, that was actually recorded in the 5150 session.
Oh, okay.
Listen to that song compared to the record, it's like, you can see why it doesn't fit stylistically.
Yeah.
But it fits more in the vibe of this record than of the other records. So to me, it's like, okay, if you're going to stick it on as a bonus track, it doesn't fit completely with the track listing and the flow of a record, but it fits in that vibe somehow. This is the record that it fits on.
Yeah.
It's kind of in that kind of an hysterical kind of place. It's a little different.
Uh-huh.
The vibe is very different for them. And like I said, with this album kind of expanding the boundaries even further from where they've been, it kind of fits.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because even, one track that predates Balance, I know, is that track Humans Being that they did for the Twister soundtrack. And that's one video I just love to look at. And it kind of, even back in the day, I kind of got the feeling that if you look at the way, maybe they were just kind of acting for the camera, but I really got the feeling, if you listen to the words and the way they were kind of looking back and forth at each other, they all look kind of so angry. It makes you think that, that was the start of that kind of darker sound for them, and they kind of, I think, maybe on Balance kind of started doing more of that, and you could kind of, I really do believe it had a lot to do with the tension that was going among the band members at the time.
I know there were some tensions with that song, because I've read some interview, and I think that Eddie might have contributed to or wrote the words to that song. There were some disagreements, and I think they weren't happy with some of the things that Sammy was doing lyrically, and they kind of told him, hey, we're doing this song for the soundtrack Twister. They said, don't write this song about hurricanes or tornadoes or whatever it is, and stuff. So they kind of, maybe they felt that, like, he needs to think outside of his box lyrically. So a place he normally would have went, we need to go somewhere else with this, even though, it was a darker place that they ended up going. I think they were trying to maybe challenge themselves into something, that they weren't used to doing. And sometimes bands can really excel when they go outside their comfort zone.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because, like, you look at another song on there, like "Big Fat Money." It's almost like it's like almost a full-blown on metal song, which is kind of not really typical for Van Halen. They always got a bit of a pop element to most of their stuff. But that was another great tune. I think that it gets overlooked a lot of times.
Yeah, I love that song. It's like they don't repeat themselves.
Yeah.
There's songs that like maybe sound kind of in the same zone as some others and this and that, but that song on this record, it's kind of like they're not trying to reinvent. They're not trying to do their version of Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
But it's this fun up tempo, out the lyrics, is kind of a song. It's like, okay, this is a cool thing on here. It brings a different vibe that probably was needed compared to some of their stuff that's a little bit more, melancholy or dramatic or dark or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And so you told me that you turned on to some of the other guys in Sam Halen, turned them onto this album. Now, typically, I know being a Van Halen tribute, you guys got to play the songs that everybody want to hear. But have you guys played any of these songs in during any of your shows, or has there been talk about adding any of these songs to the set list?
From this album, we actually do "Can't Stop Loving You."
Okay, yeah, I could see that because that's actually like that's more typical Van Halen, and that was one of my I gotta say one of my favorite songs off the album. I mean, it was released as a single in a video, but I heard that and it was very radio friendly, typical of what you would expect from a band at the time. But oddly enough, when you put the rest of the album on, it does stand out for that reason. It's probably the poppiest thing on the album, next to Not Enough.
And as I tailor a show for Sam Halen, in building the set as we've gone through this, origin of the band up to where we're at now, it's important to me to, like, in a live atmosphere, I want to bring people with us, I want them to party with us and have a good time and sing along and this and that. And I do like,
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of a darker song, and I'm like, I'm not sure I want to go to that place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We used to play Humans Being.
Yeah.
And people like that song, but it changes the feel in the room. When you do something like that, you kind of put something over, and when you're the band itself, like when you're actually the band and you're playing that song, a concert environment is a little different than what I'm doing with the tribute act.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but at the same time, I think when you're the band, it's easier to get away with something like that. And I don't want to try and alienate anybody by changing the mood and getting people like, oh, this song made me put it out like this. The vibe is just not cool. Or they'll clap at the end of that song or something.
Yeah.
So I just opted to go with Can't Stop Loving You because it's a great song, number one. It was a single.
Yeah.
It fits well in with the other songs. Yeah, no reason not to do it.
Yeah, I know you're always on Facebook and talking to a lot of the fans, and I think it'd be an interesting thing just to kind of survey some of your, fans as far as the people you talk to on Facebook, people that come to your shows, because I know myself as a Van Halen fan, I would love to see, a tribute band like you guys do a song like Human Beings for the simple fact that, the real Van Halen themselves are never going to play that song probably in concert ever again if they ever did. I don't know if they ever did, but and I know that's a favorite among a lot of the Van Halen fans. There's just for the fact that it's such a rare track. See, I think you could fit that in. Maybe somewhere like in the middle of a set, and then like you said, maybe do something like Jump or something like Why Can't This Be Love or. Even Can't Stop Loving You, really get the crowd going. But I think just depending on where you place a song like that in the set, that it would work.
Yeah, you're right. There's certain ways that, like, when you place it in a set at a certain place here and there and whatever, you can just come out of it because the song is only like, say, 5 minutes long, whatever it is. But then there's other times, like, there's some guys, like, they don't want to be playing something that they're not down with.
Yeah.
First of all, the guys who play in Sam Halen, they all dig this era of Van Halen. So I don't really want to play with somebody who's not into it.
I hear you.
Let's face it. I mean, I've got some of my favorite bands that there's a song here or there where I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I listen to the whole catalog, and when I hear this song, I kind of cringe a little, or maybe I skip over it, or whatever. And I try and respect the fact of what the guys are interested in, but I also have to kind of overrule and say, like, you know what? It's kind of hard to ignore this song. This was a big hit. Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. It wasn't one of their bigger songs.
Yeah.
Single from that record, but I kind of have to weigh it here and there. And same with Human Beings. Like, well, it was on the soundtrack, and I did make a video for it.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's got that darker element. I'm not sure if I want to go there because we did try it.
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
We played it probably 4 times, I think.
Oh, okay.
And there's people who told me that that's their favorite Van Halen song.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's always a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you don't.
Because again, I remember when I heard that song for the first time, I gotta admit, that was another one of those songs that's a little darker than typical, standard Van Halen tune, and partly for that reason, I loved it at the time because it was so heavy. But I almost, it was kind of funny not knowing back then all the tension that was going on within the band, especially between Sammy and the brothers. Now that I know that, anytime I ever hear the songs that I really listen to the words, I'm just like, man, I can feel the hate, But again, that's what they were going through at the time. So you can't really disrespect them for the song coming out that way.
No, not at all. I mean, if they committed it to tape, much less released it, they obviously believe in it enough to where they want people to hear it. And, for different reasons sometimes, like, I'll give you an instance here. On OU812, there's a song called Feel So Good, which they actually made a video for.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
To my knowledge, they've never played that live, and I did some reading up on it recently. I stumbled across an article, and apparently half the guys in the band at the time didn't even like the song at all. I don't know which two. I would suspect, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, well, maybe they didn't expect it to become a single, and they're like, well, we got to make a video for it, it'll sell some more records, okay, we'll shoot a video. But ultimately, the fact that they've never played it live, that kind of says, like, they obviously weren't comfortable enough collectively to want to showcase and play that song, whether it was Too Happy Go Lucky or whatever reason the other two guys didn't care for it. They obviously gave it a limited lifespan just by doing a video, and it got airplay, and then just kind of let it go.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, that's probably one of the poppiest things or I dare say most commercial things they've ever done. I mean, I put it right up there, next to like, even their cover of "Oh Pretty Woman" or "All Wait," which "All Wait's" another interesting story because as you may remember, Stephen, last time we did this, I was sharing with you that and you recently posted an article I was talking about up on your Facebook page where Michael McDonald from the
Michael McDonald connection.
Yeah, with that song "I'll Wait," and oddly enough, a lot of people don't know about that. But if you kind of go back and you listen to the words for "I'll Wait," that's probably the most different sounding song on 1984, and it's not your typical, Crazy Dave lyrics. And now that I know that, I can kind of see, okay, yeah, I could see Michael McDonald writing a song like this. I see that now.
Yeah, I mean, I never knew that until you brought that to my attention. And since last time we talked, I did go look it up and I found that article and I posted it on my Facebook page. But when you sit there and you stop and go, wait a minute, you know what? Michael McDonald kind of wrote lyrics or had something. It was like, huh? Really?
Yeah,
and you back and listen to it and go, yeah, these lyrics are so not Dave.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense. Even if I never found the article, I could probably believe that there was some truth to the rumor of it.
Yeah, and even in the article, it states how he didn't receive even a songwriting credit on the album for years. I guess just recently they started giving him much deserved credit for that. And it's kind of interesting because even if you look like Jump Back, What That Sound, that sounds more like a David Lee Roth song than I'll Wait. So knowing what we know now, you can kind of hear about Michael McDonald influence in that song.
Yeah, those lyrics on that song, they're just very kind of, I don't want to say typical.
Yeah.
Dave's are very double entendre, kind of, catchy, clever, whimsical, just kind of, they're just different. He's very poetic.
Yeah.
And Michael McDonald is pretty straightforward. He sings from the heart and the soul, and he's at his keyboard, and he's just delivering stuff that, he kind of feels on a personal level. And you listen to those lyrics, it's like, they're a more personal thing than anything that like Dave has done. So I can totally believe that. Yeah,
I mean, I was reading an interview somewhere recently where Alex Van Halen was talking about the song Panama and saying, he remembers when Dave first presented the song to the band, they had no idea what the lyrics meant, what the song was about, and come to find out that, he wrote it about pot or whatever, smoking pot.
Big surprise.
Yeah. And so, now, Stephen, like I said, you're always on Facebook, and I love, how really, you're in touch with, your people, so to speak, people coming to your shows. And one thing I was kind of interested in is I seen you make a post, a couple of months back, around the time when we first talked about, you wanted to know what people thought about, if tribute band should use photos of actual band or of actual tribute band. And I was kind of curious, what did you think about the responses you got?
It's always interesting to get someone else's perspective.
Yeah.
I have my own feelings on it, but I'm like, well, you know what? I kind of am just curious of what people think.
Yeah.
And one of the bands, I got the idea for the post because one of the bands that posted, I'm kind of friendly with one or two of the guys in the band.
Yeah.
I never named them. I'm not going to throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
But my thought process was going, well, I know this is how I feel.
Yeah.
What does everybody else feel?
Yeah.
And, it's important to keep in touch with people, even if it is just social media, because some of us don't get out as much, and when you're at a club or a show, the band is playing, you can't really have a chance to conversationalize. Might have had a couple drinks in you.
Yeah.
So it's a good way just to kind of stay in touch with people and get a little bit of feedback.
Yeah.
And I was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting to see the responses that came back because these are people straight up honest in the middle of the week. They haven't had any drinks.
Yeah.
And you can clearly understand what they're trying to say. So, I mean, I see it as a good thing. Yeah,
because if I could just throw my 2 cents in there, I really think, just look at the photos on your Facebook page, like I was telling you, I was really impressed when I seen them, just the pictures of your actual band. I mean, you look, not that you're trying to fool anybody thinking you're Sammy Hagar, but again, this is all like rock and roll theater, as we say, and when I look at those pictures, I'm convinced that I'm looking at photos of Sammy Hagar. I mean, you just look the part that much. And I my personal opinion, when I get on Facebook and I'm looking at these tribute bands, I would much rather myself see a picture of actual, tribute band. I mean, you could even put a photo of your band maybe next up to the, actual Van Halen, era that you're paying tribute to. But I think that just impresses the people that much more when they realize, oh, wait a minute, this is a Sam Halen, this is a Van Halen tribute band from Sammy Hagar's era of the band. Oh, wow, man, that's not Sammy Hagar. That guy looks so dead on. Oh, and it just makes people want to go check your show out that much more, you know?
I would hope so, because, you know, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, there's certain limitations that everybody has, more so in this physical aspect. I mean, you can get some backdrops or some staging or some guitars and this and that and whatever, and even the clothing, the attire and wigs and whatever, but there's certain things that there are limitations with.
Oh, of course, of course.
Physical appearance, physical body weight, height, you know, and things of that nature. And there's just certain things that just might not get close enough on. And there's some bands that really, really, truly have just found the guys that fit the part so well. I mean, my hat's off to them, because it's like, wow, you guys have done that extra mile to not only play the stuff and execute it well and work on your harmonies and everything else, but you've gone that extra step to, you know, what people expect. Because when you say tribute band, they're going to want to see something, not just hear it. Because if you want to just hear some songs later, you can go see some cover band or something of that nature. Now, I'm not knocking cover bands.
No.
When you go see a cover band, if you see him play, let's say, an AC/DC song or whatever, and the guy decides to noodle off the solo, half of it in the key of A or whatever, and it's not note for note what the record is, you're more forgiving because it's a cover band. But when it's a tribute band, people are thinking, you know what, you better play that pretty much note for note, dude, because you're doing a tribute, and that's what I want to hear. I want to experience what it would be like at one of their shows. Yeah,
I mean that's the difference to me too. Like in a band like Sam Halen than a lot of these so-called other tributes. I mean, tribute bands typically go one of two ways. You know, there are type of bands like what you guys do, where you try to look as much, you know, like you know, in your case, like Sammy Hagar as you possibly can. And that's just part of a show, because I mean, if I was going to see a band like that, I'd much rather see a band like Sam Halen, where you guys try to dress the part, look the part, at least, you know, wear clothes that look like from that era and play the songs from, you know, that era when I was a fan of a band, than getting 4 or 5 guys in their jeans and t-shirts and just giving me an evening of Van Halen music. I mean, that's great too, but it's not really what I'm into. You know, you guys are, you know, giving people what I like to call the ultimate rock show.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, I really take pride in what we do, and when people come up to me after a show and they want their picture with, you know, quote unquote Sammy, the Sammy character, that's cool, because it kind of warms my heart that they're getting something out of it. I'm just a guy in a wig who just was able to be part of having a good time with them, and now I get to mingle a little bit, and they walk away with a smile. I mean, I just see nothing but smiles all the time when we play. So it's like, okay, that to me says we're doing our job. And when people come up and say, that was great, that was awesome, I had a blast, it was just like a concert, and the best compliments I could ever get is, it was just like a concert, because it's not just about me. It's about the band presenting an experience for the fans. So everybody wins. Everybody has a good time. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, like tonight we've been talking about why Balance is your favorite Van Halen album of all time. And, you know, so you know, on that note, I'd like to just say, you know, you could be taking somebody back to the first time they heard I Can't Stop Loving You, or you know, a song like that, or even, you know, Love Walks In or Best of Both Worlds. And the fact that you go to the length you do to look the part, I mean, I have all respect in the world for that, because I mean, you, like you said, the fact that people want to come up and have a picture taken with you just because you look like Sammy Hagar, I mean, it's more than just a guy get up on stage with, you know, a yellow mop on his head, you know? I mean, you're that convincing that people say, you know, hey, maybe I could take a picture of this guy and I make my friends think I met the real Sammy Hagar or whatever. But, you know, whatever the reason is for wanting a picture. But again, you've gone to that length to try to really look the part. And I think that's why so many people have, you know, fun with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back by any means.
No.
It's very flattering when people like you say that, when people come out and they have a good time and they're clapping their hands and they sing the choruses and they want a picture and they tell their friends and it's just like, it's all positive stuff, man. Everybody has a good time. The guys in the band have a good time, and you know, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm not having fun. It's not worth me leaving the house if it's not fun.
Well, see, this is more than you just patting yourself on the back, and I'll tell you why. Because even when we did the last interview, you know, once it got posted, we've been getting a great response just from that interview alone. I got to tell you, it's one of the better responses we got from some of the recent interviews. And the thing about it is, I remember when I posted on my Facebook page, okay, you can go to this link and check out my latest interview with Sam Halen, and you had some friends that are in other tribute bands, and they actually went to the trouble of posting the link onto their web pages, and they're saying, "Oh, way to go, Steven! I checked out this interview you did, and that's great." And so that's just more love from other tribute bands because of what you do, and I think that's great too.
That is so cool, and I've become friendly with some of these guys here and there, and some of the guys from California, the guys in Sam Halen are friends, and I just try to be supportive because people support me, and I'm trying to support this. I don't know what you want to call it, not a genre, but this tribute thing, because I'm still pretty new to it.
Yeah.
And to be able to show support, I've gone to shows where I'm in the front row and I'm taking pictures, and the next day, or while I'm at the show, I'm posting videos and pictures on Facebook of like an Strange Days, the Doors tribute in LA, and Van Halen, and I can't remember the name of the Bon Jovi tribute I saw, but it's like, hey man, I'm just trying to spread the love, man. These are really good bands. I want to help spread the word that you need to see some of these bands, because for one reason or another, there's a reason why people go see tributes. Because, if it's a Doors or a Zeppelin tribute, those bands aren't around anymore. Or if it's a Def Leppard or a Foreigner or whatever else it is, maybe they're not in town that month. Maybe you can't afford to see the real band when they come to town. Maybe you want to throw back to that classic era of what they did. There's different reasons why people go. And, there's people that they're still not aware of tributes. As big as this whole movement, I guess, is becoming, there's still people that aren't aware. So if you can kind of tip the hat and go, hey man, you really have to check these guys out. Here, check this out. Those guys are cool. They look dead on. They sound great. I'm going to go the next time they're in town.
In Los Angeles, where I'm from, tribute scene has been huge here for years. I mean, going all the way back to 1990. That's when it really started coming big out here with the Iron Maidens and Atomic Punks, and we talked about some of those bands last time. But just kind of think about, even though you say you haven't been part of a tribute scene for a while, think about the kind of noise you guys are starting to make, for the simple fact, like you just said, you're starting to become friends with some of these other tribute bands. But these are not even just tribute bands, in the Phoenix, Arizona area. I mean, like you said, you're friends with some of these guys down here in Southern California, and you're up in Northern California, and so even just people discovering you on Facebook. Think about that for a minute. That you're making that kind of impact. People, so far away from where you live, are aware of you. That says something, I think, about the kind of impact you guys are having.
It's cool, man. I mean, to get instant messages from people, or friend requests from people I've never even physically met before is cool. And once in a while, somebody will message me, or I'll message them. We'll chat a little bit and stuff, and. There seems to be a lot of support. There's people who are really cool. And, everybody kind of, I can't say everybody, because I haven't talked to everybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are wanting to be supportive of the other people. And that's a cool thing, because everybody wins when everybody is made aware and everybody knows what's going on, and it's cool. Everybody needs some support here and there. And, if I can get a hand, if I can give a hand, all that stuff is good stuff.
And I think what makes the band like Sam Halen works, like we were talking before, is the simple fact that most of the Van Halen tributes out there are, the classic David Lee Roth there, for the most part. There's one, I think, called Oh You Wait One Two, that's got the singer Mark Huff. He was in Quiet Riot for a little bit. They got that band going, and I know there's one in Hawaii called the Red Rockers or something like that.
It's Redfoot, I think it was called.
Redfoot, yeah, you're right. And so
I'm friends with a couple of those guys on Facebook. They've had some chats. They seem like cool guys.
Yeah. It'd be cool, like, if you got all three of you in a room together and just kind of took pictures. But I think the cool thing about your story so far, Steven, that I'm aware of, like you were telling me last time, that you were playing a gig and Sammy was in town, and he happened to be at the restaurant or the club where you guys were playing, came down a couple hours before, and he actually met the man, and the coolest thing he said to you was, "Hey man, it's so cool to meet me." I mean, that's got to be like the ultimate experience for you.
Having an opportunity to meet a guy that I'm so influenced by locally, and have been a fan of and bought his records for years and seen him in concert and everything, to have a moment. I don't need a day. It's cool.
A moment.
I mean, I'm fortunate that the fact that I actually got to press the flesh with the man, say hello, He gave me a hug. He asked me to be part of these promos that they were shooting for his show on Access TV. I feel blessed.
Yeah, cool.
And then to take my 10-year-old son to meet him backstage.
Yeah.
That was just so cool. My son was over the moon at that.
I mean that is cool too, in the fact that, you know, you could have had the opportunity to meet this guy and find out, you know, he's the biggest jerk in the world. But the fact that, you know, you meet him and you find out, you know, he really is a cool, down to earth guy. That to me makes it, you know, ultimate experience too, because you know, I recently had an experience, I'm not going to go into, but where, you know, a guy I was a fan of, you know, I made a little comment on his Facebook page, and he just kind of really took it the other way and just kind of went off, and come to find out he does that to a lot of people, and he doesn't like what you say. He kind of blocks you from his Facebook page and all that. But, you know, and it just really, you know, the saddest part of all for me about an experience like that, it kind of, you know, as big of a fan as I am of, you know, the guy's band, it kind of really turned me off from him. You know, I'm more, you know, he's bad-mouthing some of his bandmates, and me and a couple of other people were kind of saying, you know, why you got to badmouth other guys? And he really, you know, didn't like that. And so, like, while I'm still a fan of the band and some of the other guys, it just really, the way this guy reacted to me and some other fans is like, you know, really just turned me off from him. So I'm like, it's nice that you could have, you know, an experience where you actually meet your hero, and he's a cool guy.
Yeah, I know exactly who and what you're referring to about that, and I certainly don't want to draw any negative.
I hear you.
That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying, because, you know, you have these, I guess in your mind, maybe that expectations, like, wow, I've always heard he's cool and that, whatever and stuff. And, you know, you never know what kind of day somebody's having.
Yeah.
You could have had just a bad flight,
yeah,
not feeling good and this and that, and there's that one moment you have where you can say hello, and you just caught him at the wrong moment, and he's short, he's pressed for time.
Yeah.
And that one little moment will live with people. I've seen some of those situations firsthand.
Yeah.
I've seen situations where the quote-unquote rock star had the opportunity to handle it better, and I've seen situations where the people were too pushy and this and that. There's always a different set of circumstances that can happen. But for the one that I was in, couldn't say anything nicer about him for taking the time to give me some attention, which, you know, I was just kind of sort of wanting to say hi and wanting to get a picture with him. You know, anything else, but that would be a bonus. Yeah. And for him to high-five me and hug me and have his wife Carrie take a picture of us and shoot 2 promos for cable TV. Are you kidding me? I won the jackpot. The only thing that would have been better is would have been singing a song with him on stage. But hey, you know, I can't be too picky here. It didn't happen. It's all good. I got something out of it that was great. My son did, and like I'm blessed. And
so you guys, you've been getting a pretty good response, like we said. So I know that you recently did a couple shows with this Def Leppard tribute out there called, I think it's Pyrosteria.
Pyrosteria.
How,
friends of ours.
And how did those shows go? Because I think too that you guys would be 2 great bands that I could see, you know, doing a gig together. Obviously.
We played a show with them last month at this very, very new state-of-the-art venue called Livewire. They have $1 million sound system.
Okay.
It's a big place. It is really posh. Very nice place. The staff there was just absolutely awesome. You know, it's a big difference when you've got somebody who runs a venue versus like a smaller type of establishment, because then it's always kind of sort of hit or miss.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of the small places over the years, and, you know, I've just made a decision that I just want to do something else, because I'm more attracted to the environment and clientele and what I want to present with this show than what I've been in the past. So, not taking a knock on anybody, but I just know where I want to go with this thing.
And let me ask you.
Pyrosteria, these guys, I'm telling you, they are the bomb. It is classic era Def Leppard tribute. It is like Pyromania and Hysteria eras. And there's a point in the show where they change over in the middle. So the first half, they're dressed like the Pyromania era.
Yeah.
And then there's like a brief little intermission. They come back out, then they're looking like the Hysteria era. And, you know, those guys have put in a lot of work to what they do. And let me tell you, I don't know if you know much about singing, but singing Def Leppard stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
And their singer, Scott Halen, that guy nails it. I mean, he's really singing this stuff, and it's just like, these guys are the definitive Def Leppard tribute. And I've seen a number of them on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've seen at least one of them live, And I'm telling you, man, keep an eye out for these guys. You're going to be hearing about them.
And the thing too about a band like Def Leppard, they're all over the place. As far as vocals, because I mean, you take anything like off the first two albums, they were a band that was really hungry back in the day, and what I mean is they were a lot heavier. They sound nothing like they sound now. But they've been doing it so long. Going back to 1978, that all these years later, if you put on all the albums, they sound really, really different, but it's a great body of work. I mean, you got stuff like Hello America, and then you put that next to like a song like Hysteria, Pour Some Sugar on Me, and it's all Def Leppard, and they even put out a great cover record a couple years ago. And an interesting thing about that is, although these were not original Def Leppard tunes, they really made every one of those songs they covered sound like a Def Leppard song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, whether they put their own spin on it or whether they play it straight the way it is on the original version, they've got a sound.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great compliment to any band when you have a quote-unquote sound. Like, for instance, that band from Australia in the 80s that was really big called In Excess.
Yeah.
I was never a big fan. I mean, I liked all their singles. They wrote great songs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider them one of my favorite bands by any stretch. They had good tunes, but you know what? I can admit, they had a sound.
Yeah.
When the song came on the radio, whether it was new or whatever, or it was a B-side, I could tell you that's an In Excess song because they had a sound.
Yeah.
That's a compliment, man. Bands can have hits and bands can have a good tour here and there and a high-profile video, but when you have a sound, that's identifiable. I mean, that's just, wow.
Yeah.
That's an achievement.
Yeah, and let me, that's again, that's the thing about Van Halen as a band. You got this battle going along with the band members and with fans as far as, typically, people are either a Sammy fan or a Dave fan. I'm like you in the sense that I'm a fan of everything they've done. I mean, yeah, you talk about with David Lee Roth there, it's totally different band, different ball game. But if you look over the overall body of work, it's all great. It's all great music, and it's just a shame that even what they're doing with Dave, it's he could never sing a lot of those Sammy tunes. So I understand why they're not playing those songs, but that's why it's great to have a band like Sam Halen, because all those great Sammy tunes, you're never going to see Van Halen perform in concert ever again.
Well, you know what? You never say never, because Sammy's still alive, and so all the recent turmoil and drama that's gone on with them, it seems highly unlikely.
Yeah.
And, not that I'm wishing for them to get back to Sammy.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, whatever's going to play out is going to play out. Sammy's happy doing what he's doing. And you know what? There's a lot of great music and a lot of memories. Thank God for CDs and videotape. That's all I got to say, man.
And the great.
It's a shame that they didn't get more mileage out of that lineup with Sammy. And, truth be told, even though Dave can't sing the Sammy stuff, Sammy could sing the Dave stuff.
Yeah.
He wasn't there to create it. And the stuff that Sammy brings to the table isn't the same magic that Dave brings to the table.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been the same Van Halen.
Yeah.
And the thing is Sammy comes in after Dave, so there's a handful of these tunes that he's got to play, and they'll return to say we're playing a Sammy solo tune or two, whatever. But, Roth, I mean, he's the originator for that band. He created that whole shtick thing, and it's part of the magic of what we all grew up with as Van Halen.
Yeah,
and he comes in and Dave's out, everything changes. The whole band changed the dynamic and the songwriting and everything else. It's cool, it's just different.
Yeah, I mean, the songwriting itself is very different between the two guys for obvious reasons, but I think it's kind of very interesting too that while Dave is the original singer, and the last thing he did with the band, 1984, was a #1 album, and they had only done four studio albums with Sammy, they had more #1 albums with, everything they did with him from, as far as those studio albums went to #1. And even though he didn't have as many, studio albums that they did as what they did with Dave, I think that speaks volumes, as far as what he brought into the band.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
See, if they didn't call the band Van Halen and Sammy joined, would they have been successful or not? We don't know, because that time has come and passed.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you know what? You you can say what you want, but I don't think they used the coattails to write in on with Dave being gone with the name Van Halen.
Yeah.
How many hits would they have had? If they didn't have the hits, they didn't have the goods, and they would have eventually faltered.
Yeah.
But they had all sorts of hits on every record, multiple videos, all sorts of sellout tours and everything. There's a lot of success that lineup produced.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to do something that reminds people that there's a lot of great music to celebrate from that era, because even if you see Sammy with the Circle or solo now, he'll only play about maybe 4 to 6 songs.
Yeah.
And that's his right. He's not doing Van Halen.
Yeah.
Sammy solo, he's not going to ignore the Van Halen, but that's not 100% or 80% or whatever that you're going to see. You're going to see these other parts of his career, and he's going to play some Zeppelin songs because Jason Bond's in the band, and he's always loved Zeppelin. So it all makes sense what he's doing. I ain't knocking that at all.
Yeah, and I'd like to get your thoughts on the new Van Halen live album. To me, it's just a great sounding, kind of in your face raw album. But then again, depending on who you talk to, people either love it or hate it. What's your thoughts on the new live album?
I've listened to it several times. I love the way that the band sounds.
Yeah.
There's no question that Eddie is just really, really still the top of his game.
Yeah.
Especially since Sobering Up, because I loved the Different Kind of Truth album.
Yeah.
The first album with Roth and Wolfie together. That was a great album, and it really kind of got pushed on the back burner because I think people were turned off by the single Tattoo.
Uh-huh.
But getting back to the live album, everybody says, like, oh, yeah, Roth's vocals are horrible, and this and that. It's like, well, you've obviously never heard Roth in the past, and his early days, he was never a great singer, this and that.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who's followed him his whole career, with Van Halen live and solo, and then coming back and this and that, there's stuff on this album that I'm kind of just scratching my head a little bit. I'm like, wow, he's cool with that getting on there? Okay, it's his record.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know people who they can't stand it, they cringe, and I know the people who are cool with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And I can't take a knock at the guy because, number one, I'm in a Sammy Hagar Van Halen Tribute Band.
Yeah.
It's going to look like completely crappy of me to do anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest and say, like, I think that's the weak point of the album. It's got a great set list. The sound is fantastic. But there's stuff on there that Roth says that I'm just kind of scratching my head wondering, like, why didn't he recut some of these vocals?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing...
I love and respect the guy, man. I mean, he's David Lee Roth. Come on.
I mean, the only thing I can say really about it is, like I said, I put it on, and to me, as far as the mix goes of a live sound, to me it sounds like, a classic live album as far as, you almost believe for a minute, okay, like, it sounds like you're right there in the crowd. So it sounds like a great live album, that way to me. Whereas, again, not that I'm into knocking anything, because I love the live album they did with Sammy, but, knowing a little more about, that album that I do now, where the guys kind of went in and they kind of did the mix, they messed with the mix and they had to kind of go in and recut some of the stuff. To me, that was a great album as far as, the tunes that were on that album, but to me, because they messed with the mix, the sound isn't even as good as on this new Van Halen live album. That's the only thing I'll say about that.
I know what you're saying, and my personal feeling is part of it, I think, has to do with the timing of things.
Uh-huh.
In other words, like, in that era of time where music was in the industry at the time versus the way now, now things, it's a lot more cool to be more organic and straightforward and raw. And back then, 21, 22, 23, 24 years ago, everything was still very polished and, at times processed, and it had to be just this very, very presentable, studio-esque, processed kind of sort of thing.
Yeah,
and you don't really see that element now. It's since like the Nirvana thing and the whole, the Unplugged and the alternative thing coming around, a lot of stuff has kind of gone back to being more rootsy and organic and raw.
Yeah, and
had they done that record today, let's say Sammy was on tour with them this year and this and that, I think you would get an album that sounds a lot closer to what they did with this, live Tokyo Dome than what they did putting out in '93. Yeah,
and that's why when people say what they do about Roth's vocals on it, I my kind of response to that is, well, you know what, this is the way it was recorded. This is and so in a sense, if that's how he sounds, and you're getting what you're getting. But like I think for a guy like David Lee Roth, that's what people expect from him. That's how he sounds. So that's what he is, you know.
Yeah, and let's give the guy a break. I mean, he's 60.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out there doing what he's always done. And look, we all age. I don't know about you, but I'm in my 40s.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes when I get out of bed in the morning, it might be a little harder than when I was 20.
I hear you.
It affects everybody sooner or later.
Yeah.
And the vocal is a muscle. See, when Eddie's done playing for the day, he puts his guitar in the case, he walks away, and he goes home and does whatever stuff. When you're a singer, you're susceptible to colds, fatigue, phlegm, all sorts of things. And, some people think like, oh, it's just a singer whining about this and that.
Yeah.
But it's true. You got to watch what you eat, your diet, you got to watch what you drink, dairy, you got to try and stay away from it if you're a really sensible singer. There's a lot of elements that go with that, smoking and all sorts of this stuff. So what Rock does to himself, I know that he smokes, I know that he always likes to brag about having a nice greasy cheeseburger for breakfast, all kinds of stuff like that. Everybody takes their own approach to singing differently.
Yeah.
And, he's apparently content with what he does. I'm not knocking him, but, I've heard performances of him where I've enjoyed him more.
Yeah. And, he's at a point in his life where like you're saying, who knows how many more Van Halen tours there are going to be. And, he's kind of at a point where he's comfortable doing what he does. And he knows that, even if I have an off night, there's going to still be a big crowd to play to,
Yeah, and let's face it, I don't care who you are. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
There's some shows where they're going to knock it out and go like, man, that show is close to flawless. That show is probably about 95%. That's one of the only shows we've had on this tour, or a lot of them are pretty consistent, about 85-90%.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, there's people who have a bad night, collectively or individually.
Yeah.
It just happens, because we're all human beings.
And see, that's what to me makes Van Halen such a great band. That even if the lead singer is having a bad night, you still read these reviews where they say, the rest of the band was solid though. The rest of the band made up for the singer's poor performance or his off night or whatever. And so even if he's having an off night, the rest of the guys are they're still up they're still up to the level of playing that they are.
And, it's so easy to be armchair quarterback when you're on the internet.
Yeah.
99.999% of these people will never meet the people that they're trash talking.
Yeah.
And I've personally tried to have a philosophy for a long time of like, you know what? You better be prepared to say something to somebody's face that you're saying behind their back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing, too, is about it, like we were talking last time, you're telling me, when Dave, when you first heard Dave Lee Roth left Van Halen and they got Sammy Hagar, how shocked, what a shock that was and how long it took you to get over that. Like a lot of these Van Halen fans, including myself, I got to tell you, like a lot of people, we've been hearing for years that Dave Lee Roth was going to come back in the band, and it never seemed to work out. I can't tell you, like a lot of fans, how surprised I was when I finally heard they were coming out with a new album. They were working together again. I thought, wow, this time it's really happening. And I'm really, surprised it's even, lasted this long. But it seems like, Dave and some other guys have kind of grown up, and they've learned to kind of, work with each other. We don't have to be best of friends, but we can work together, and it seems to be working.
I think they look at that aspect of it. Also, they spend more time off the road than they do collectively together on the road and making new music.
Yeah.
Dave moved to Japan, 2 years ago, I think. And, he'll say, I haven't heard from Eddie. And Dave, says whatever, and then Eddie will say, oh, you don't want to be friends with me, this and that. Okay, there's some here and there type of friction, whatever stuff going on. But, from when he came back with them, in 06, 07 up till now, they've done 3 tours and 1 album. There's not, and these tours, there's been 1 or 2 of them that they've cut short because Eddie had that health scare and, different reasons. So it's not like they're spending tons of time together. And I think it's one of these things to where they realize, you know what?
We need each other.
Like we used to, because audiences and times are different. They used to put out an album a year.
Yeah.
And people just don't do that anymore. You kind of got to give your audience a chance to miss you.
Yeah.
Then once you come back 2, 3, 4 years later, they're hungry for you again.
Yeah, and Dave is an interesting character too, because as crazy as he is and everything, he I've read interviews and things he's done, and he's also very intelligent. He comes from a very wealthy family. The father, I think, was a doctor, and and if you've seen any of those shows he used to have on the internet, the Roth Show, they were very.
I've seen a number of them.
They were very impressive, and I liked what he was doing. I thought it was a cool thing. But then they just all of a sudden seemed to have stopped. And I've heard things about Eddie kind of had a problem with it and wanted him doing these things. But again, Dave, I think, is at a point in his life where he's like, okay, if I need to stop doing that so I can keep at peace with these guys, and it'll allow me to stay in the band, I'm willing to do that. He seems like he's got a little smarter over the years, where maybe because it took him so long to get back into the band, he's like, okay, I appreciate what I got here, and I'm not going to do anything to screw it up. So it does seem to me like he's got a little smarter. He doesn't do as many crazy things in the press like he used to. So that's nice to see too.
I'm sure they've had talks collectively before they were moving forward about how, look, I'm not comfortable when you do this, I'm not comfortable when you say that, those types of sorts of things. I listened to Rock's radio show when he took over that slot when Howard Stern moved to Adelaide.
Yeah.
It was on for about 4 months. I heard every single episode. And I really came to find out how intelligent he really is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bit crazy and he's off the wall and this and that, but when it comes down to when he gets serious, and he won't get serious for too long.
Yeah.
But this guy is truly intelligent. He knows a lot about life, about survival, all sorts of things. I was amazed because you think like, oh, this big dumb Rothschild with the big head of hair and just up there screaming and with chicks and stuff after the shows and whatever. But it's like, this guy really truly gets it. He's got a clue. Really intelligent guy, and it comes through in his lyrics. He doesn't write very typical types like we were saying before. Sammy's lyrics are different. He's kind of more meat and potatoes. He's very straightforward. He's heartfelt.
Yeah.
He's a bit more emotional. So in that respect, there's no way in hell that they could have made any of those Sammy records with Dave.
Yeah. Oh,
They're
yeah.
just two completely different entities.
Yeah, and Dave's almost like a comedian at times. When he does do some of these interviews, and you see him on TV and stuff. I mean, he has these catchphrases. They asked him something about would Van Halen with him ever do any of his Sammy songs, and he said something about Dave don't need no hamburger helper. It's kind of thing was something snappy to say, and it seemed to work at the time. It got the intended laughs that he was looking for. But again, just little stuff like that. It kind of showed you, okay, this guy is really thinking. And I heard back in the day, he was the one that managed the band for a long time. He directed the videos. He was kind of really the guy in charge. And it was only after he left the band that the two brothers kind of stepped forward and like, okay, we're going to take over the reins of this band. And I think that's why they hold on to they have so much control these days, because they seen just what that control can do if you use it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of power struggle, I'm sure, with any big type of a band like that. But I mean, they all contribute. I mean, as much as even Eddie Van Halen nowadays doesn't seem to want to admit that Michael Anthony contributed. Maybe Eddie wrote all the stuff and just had Michael Anthony play the parts he wrote and stuff like that. But Michael Anthony brought something with his groove and his bass playing and with his high harmonies, which have yet to be duplicated by like almost anybody. Yeah,
I mean, that is a very good point. For years people said, Michael Anthony. I mean, he was kind of like the Glenn Hughes of that band. He was the background, sound of Van Halen. I mean, and that's going for Dave Lee Roth there. That's going for Sam Hagar, and even but one album they did with Gary Cherone. I mean, that man, I think, will always be remembered for that background sound of Van Halen.
I think his prominence and his contributions shine out more with him kind of being gone, and when you look back and realize what he really contributed, because I can't say anything bad about Wolfgang, and I wouldn't. Because,
No.
He's Eddie Van Halen's son. He's talented enough to be in the band. I don't feel his groove the way I felt Michael Anthony's groove. He's a different player.
Yeah.
And he's schooled by his dad.
Yeah.
As much as Eddie wants to say that he showed Michael Anthony everything, I don't believe that Michael would have gotten the band if he couldn't have played a note.
That's very interesting.
Eddie is kind of schooled Wolfie on his style, because remember, Eddie played bass on Sammy Hagar's I Never Said Goodbye album.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is, again, nothing against Wolfgang Van Halen, but I mean, think about, what that poor kid has to live up to. I mean, the legend that is Michael Anthony. And again, Michael Anthony, what he has going for him is being the original bass player, and he's the one that wrote all those songs, played the bass on all the tunes, and talking about the Van Halen songwriting machine. I mean, for years, if you go back and you look at any of the writing credits, for the most part, they split everything 4 ways. I mean, it'd say Van Halen, Roth, Anthony, or whatever the case may be. Until recently, like when they released the Best of Both Worlds, the Greatest Hits album, I heard they were trying to, cut Michael Anthony out of some of his songwriting. But for years, they split it 4 ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, you touched on some of this. I'm kind of interested to get your thoughts on that recent Billboard interview Eddie did, where he kind of was trashing Michael Anthony and some of the guys, and the response he got to that.
Man, it's a sore subject with a lot of people, and when I was reading it, I'm trying to put it in perspective, like, okay, I'm not in the room, I don't know
For fact.
the tone that he's expressing when he's saying these words.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when you read words, like if you get a text from somebody or whatever, or if you're trying to text them, the meaning can get lost, because all you have is these cold, typed words.
Yeah.
That, really reading it and just absorbing it, it's like, okay, what I get is Eddie is really bitter. And it's a shame, because it's like, if you choose not to work with Eddie, with Michael anymore, and, something's never going to happen with Sammy, that's cool. Life happens and everything moves on, and Dave's back, and you're moving forward. That's respectable. I can get that to an extent.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they handle getting rid of Michael Anthony.
Yeah.
But
what can you?
Yeah. You could be at least, I guess, respectable enough to say, you know what, man, we had some great years and this and that. It was fun while it lasted, but here's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Okay, I can respect that. But he just seems like to have this bitterness built up in him about the fact that he went out and played with Sammy.
Yeah.
When Van Halen was doing nothing. They had no singer, they had no label, they had no tour, they were sitting at home, and he was dealing with his own cancer thing, whatever, but the band's inactive. And Michael Anthony, he just jonesed to get up and jam somewhere. So, from what it seems like, Eddie's just, to this day, extremely bitter that he's friends with Sammy and would go out and jam, on tours or something. It's like, okay, do you remember that when Van Halen had something to do, Michael Anthony was there? It's called Van Halen 3.
Yeah.
He was there. He did the record. He did the tour. When there's something to happen, he would be there. And you listen to Sammy even talk about him. He says, Michael was always the first one there, the last to leave, this and that and everything, totally dedicated, blah, blah, blah. And there's even some video somewhere on YouTube where Eddie Van Halen is talking, like 86 or 88.
Yeah.
And he's on camera saying, the secret weapon in this band is Michael Anthony. So from whatever point, the bitterness took over, and now all of a sudden, he's like the enemy. And it's, as a fan of this band for decades, it's heartbreaking to see that when it could be just like, yeah, well, it was cool back then. We wrote some great songs, but we eventually had to get back with Dave and wanted to do this music again and everything. Yeah, okay, that's cool, I guess. There's nothing wrong with it. But these guys are in their 60s, and he seems to be on this path of just this bitterness. It's like, man, we should be letting go of this stuff, man. Just be thankful for what happened. A lot of great music, great albums, cool experiences. You introduced this new line of guitars during that period, and amplifiers that you're still doing to this day. And now you're back doing stuff with Dave as the old school video. That's cool too. I love that stuff.
Yeah, and what's a shame to me is like
I could do without, man.
Yeah, what's a shame that's what's really a shame about it, because it is great. They are a great band. They put out some great music. No matter if you're a David Lee Roth or a Sammy Hagar fan, to me it is all good. Now, when I read some of the stuff he said, and even stuff I've heard Sammy and Michael say over the years in interviews, really like you're saying, the main crux of the problem is when the band was really inactive. He went out there and played some shows and did stuff with Sammy, and it was like basically Sammy says, oh, they don't like Michael because he was so-called playing with the enemy. They didn't want nothing to do with me because he was out there being my friend and playing shows with me. All of a sudden, they wanted nothing to do with him. And if you read the interview, the interesting thing to me is he kind of badmouths a little bit of everybody. I mean, only one he doesn't obviously badmouth is his brother. And a lot of people say Alex is on Ed's side because they're brothers and he kind of has to be. But he said something about Dave Lee Roth isn't my friend. And he said even something about Gary Sharon that, we got rid of him because I seen him wearing a John Travolta suit or something, jumpsuit. And I'm like, why do you have to trash all these people? Why don't you just celebrate all the years, of great music? And you guys got a great new live album. And the only thing I'll say, but I'm happy to see is, he got a little bit of a negative feedback from it, but I like to see. I'm happy to see that all that drama has kind of died down.
I'm glad to see the drama died down because this band has always been fun for me in high school, junior high and high school. When Dave was there and Sammy came in, even when she was doing ballads and stuff, it was always fun, uplifting. You just love to rock out to it. It was classic, great American music. And it seems like a lot of parts, the better part of the last, I'd probably say close to 20 years, there's been so much drama that's been aired publicly by these guys or from the Van Halen camp. It's like, man, you guys should maybe just kind of keep your mouth shut and just maybe not do interviews and just release music and do concerts. Because to me, you're not winning over any new people. You're talking crap about the people who were in the band that you love to trust and make great music with for a long time. But now they're gone. I'm going to talk crap about them. I don't know, man. It kind of bothers me because it's like, look at these guys like our heroes, and it's like, you don't want to see your parents fight. You don't want to see your brother and sister fight. And why do you want to see that your favorite band you grew up with fight? Nobody wants this stuff.
Yeah, and that's why, I love a guy like Sammy because he's so real. I mean, I love the fact that after that interview, that Eddie did that interview and people, heard it or read it. The fact that Sammy, the very next day went online defending his friend Michael Anthony, saying, in defense of Michael, F you, Eddie Van Halen. And again, that's just how real. That's just Sammy responding, from his heart in defense of his friend. And you got to love that about the guy.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw that, and when I saw it, I didn't think in my mind of like, F you, Eddie Van Halen. I thought, you know what? This is a guy coming to aid and standing up for his friend. That's cool. I don't care who you are, whether you like the band or not. That's cool. It's a friend sticking up for a friend. That is cool.
Yeah, and so getting back to your band, Sam Halen, for a minute. A lot of that Sammy Hagar era, a lot of the music was really keyboard heavy. So I was curious, do you guys have a keyboard player in the band or somebody that does that, or do you just play like keyboard tracks? How do you guys handle that?
We have tracks for the couple songs that we have keys for.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's not really like sensible to have like a fifth person up there.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a Deep Purple tribute where he's playing in every song.
Yeah.
And if Van Halen ever had a guy out on stage, and most of their songs didn't have keys, it doesn't make sense for us to do it either.
Yeah. And
but at the same time, I don't want to do a watered down version where it's like, we're going to do this song without the keys. It's like, if it's there and it's a prominent piece, depending on the song, there might be a song where it's like, you know what, it's so subtle in this song, you can kind of get away with it without the key part. But like, there's certain songs like, Why Can't This Be Love?
Yeah.
You gotta have a key track.
Yeah.
Right now, absolutely.
Yeah. And I was curious, as a Van Halen fan yourself, Steven, even going back to 1984 and 51, 50, because that's stuff where he really got keyboard heavy. What did you think, of this guy, Eddie Van Halen, probably one of your all-time, guitar heroes, really getting heavy into the keyboards? Were you shocked, when it was first happening back there in, 85 and 86?
More so, I guess, I don't want to say shocked.
Yeah.
It was cool in 1984.
Yeah.
And when Sammy came in, I guess initially I was expecting something that rocked harder because Sammy was the Red Rocker, and he played guitar when he sang, and I expected, maybe they're going to have a two-guitar lineup, they're going to do these dual harmony leads or something, and they went more of the songwriter route and more commercial. Like, this is cool too. So it kind of took me for a loop because I guess in my mind I built up something that I kind of thought maybe was going to happen, which it was the complete opposite. But it's like, this is cool, I can hang with this. The songs are great. That's ultimately what it comes down to. You can have these guys, which a lot of them came out in the 80s, they were just guitar-shredding dudes, but they don't have the songs. If you don't have the songs, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what makes a song like "Why Can't This Be Love" off 5150 such a great song to me, because it is so keyboard oriented, as opposed to being like a guitar driven song, but it's still a very heavy tune, if you will, and that's one of the things I really loved about that song from the minute I heard it.
There's a classic rock station here in Phoenix, and they're busy pumping the show for Van Halen coming here in September. And they're giving away tickets and they're playing a lot of the rock stuff. And I've heard them several times play, Sammy songs. And there was one day in particular they got done playing the song Right Now. And one of the DJs on the morning show, I actually know him. He's a huge David Lee Roth era fan. He told me his favorite Sammy Hagar album is the HSAS record.
Oh, okay,
so maybe that means he doesn't like the Sammy era Van Halen. That'd be my guess, but I've never asked him. Anyway, they get done playing the song Right Now, and both DJs, they just said, wow, that's always been a great song.
Yeah.
This is coming from a guy who's a fan of the rock era. He prefers the rock
era.
Yeah. So to get somebody like that to kind of sort of admit that without even having to talk about it, they just chose to start talking about it. It's like, you got to give it up. I'm not a fan of Leonard Skinner at all. I'm not really a big Southern rock guy, but you know what? I can admit they wrote great songs.
And I was kind of curious, when Van Halen comes to Phoenix, will you be going to that show? And have you given any thought? Like, are you just going to go, dressed in your everyday clothes as Steven, or are you going to show up in the crowd dressed, in the Sammy costume? You given any thought to that?
I haven't given any thought to it because I'm not going to be attending.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool. And I'll let you go, Steven, because it's been great talking to you. But before we do, just a couple last questions about the Balance album. Now, I couldn't talk about the album without asking you what are your thoughts, especially when you seen the album cover for the very first time of those two Siamese twins.
It's funny because I actually have the Japanese version, which they banned that cover in Japan. So
wow.
It's just one kid sitting on the seesaw. But I remember the album cover you're talking about. I see it every once in a great while, but I'm so used to seeing the other one.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that. Like I said, I've got the different cover. To me it was just like, okay, this is 90s. Things are changing with the times. And they're just going for this different kind of art. I didn't really put too much thought into it.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of thing I remember when the album came out is, especially after putting the album on, listening, okay, some of these songs are a little darker, like we were talking earlier, than your typical Van Halen tune. But, and there's not as cohesive of an element as far as, an overall sound to most of the songs. I mean, you put on Big Fat Money, Can't Stop Loving You, Amsterdam, Big Fat Money, Not Enough. They all sound drastically different, but somehow it worked. And then I love the title too, Balance, because when you stop and just think about what I just said, it's not the title that immediately comes to your mind, Balance. As far as the overall sound of the album. And then I was curious, what did you thought of overall production? I mean, I think the guy that had produced that was Bruce Fairbairn, who had done some Bon Jovi stuff.
I mean, I dug it. I really like the sounds on this album, and to me, it's their most diverse record. It's called Balance, and it's this diverse collection of songs that it's like it's the next logical step past the Carnal Knowledge record.
Yeah.
So I really dig where they went with a lot of these songs. Like, I mean, the last couple songs, Take Me Back and Feelin'.
Oh, yeah.
Those are just fantastic songs. And I've seen some live tracks on YouTube. I think they definitely played Feelin'. I'm not sure if they played Take Me Back, but they did play Feelin' on that tour. And that's a fantastic song.
Yeah. And I got to ask you too. Again, not really to get into the look of a band, but one thing that's drastically different on if you look at any of the pictures from that time period, going back to 1995, Eddie all of a sudden had a new look. He cut his hair. He grew a full-grown beard, and that had kind of a cool vibe going. But from what I understand, he made a bet with somebody, and that if his football team that he was for lost or something, that he was gonna grow a beard and cut his hair. And what did you think when you saw his new look for the first time?
It was pretty different because up until that time he'd always had long and shaggy hair.
Yeah.
But then you think about it, the look he has right now, it's pretty much the same. It's just that he's not calling his hair now. His gray is coming through. So, to me, it's like a throwback to the Balance era.
Yeah. And well, again, Steven, I really enjoyed doing this and talking to you. I have to do it again, but the interview itself will probably be going up in a couple of weeks. I'll be sure to let you know the minute it does. But thanks for doing this, and best of luck with you and the band Sam Halen. You guys got anything else? Any shows or anything coming up in the near future?
As we're taping this, we've got a private party we're playing.
Right.
In Phoenix, so I can't really publicize it.
I understand.
Okay. There are some things in the works. I can't really talk about it, but if one of these things does happen, I'll be letting you know about it because it could be a really cool thing.
Well, best of luck with that, and I guess in the meantime, everybody can see what you're up to on your Facebook page, so we'll check that out, and thanks so much for doing this, my friend, and we'll have to talk again, but I'll let you know the minute the interview goes up. It's really been fun.
Awesome.
Take care.
Pleasure talking to you, Jason. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity and your time this evening.
Okay, you too. Thanks, my friend. Bye-bye.